Understanding. Understanding is my ability to know that God stands under all things. Understanding is my knowing how to accomplish. Understanding is knowing with my heart. Whenever you meet something that you can't understand, it simply means that you can't see the order, the good, or any purpose to it. In other words, you can't see how God stands under this situation. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't stand under the situation. It only appears to be that way to you. In reality, God stands under all things as principle. There is some principle in effect that you need to understand before you can have mental satisfaction. But let us assume there's a situation where there seems to be no rhyme nor reason. Is there any way to find peace of mind and heart without understanding all the details? The answer is yes. You can steel yourself to divine understanding. This allows you to realize that there's a spiritual law in effect, even though you can't detect it at the moment. Jesus said, "Ye believe because you have seen, but blessed are they who believe and who have not seen." This is the exercising of understanding. It is trusting in God when you would have been otherwise skeptical. A skeptic feels that things aren't as good as they should be, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to be convinced. We all want to be convinced. You are a spiritual being, living in a spiritual world governed by spiritual laws. This is not always apparent to one who is governed by appearances. He constantly asks for proof and stays in one spot until he finds it. This is called seeing is believing. Divine understanding is developed by declaring that God as principle stands under all things and that within all things there is good. It is important always to remember that understanding is more than cognition of mind. It is more than impulses moving through your brain. It is spirit in action, divine energy, pouring through your consciousness as understanding. This is why you can move forward in an assured manner, even though you don't have all the answers. Divine understanding allows you to move on faith. Does this mean you can build a house without knowing how? Does this mean you don't need to know any facts or figures or dimensions in constructing a building? Can you build such a building without understanding what you are doing? No, it doesn't mean that. In fact, there is very little you can accomplish in life experience without understanding what you are doing. Understanding is your knowing how to accomplish. It is important to understand the principles that underlie building construction if you are going to build a house. There is a principle of stress, of support, of balance, of management, of economics. When you understand these principles, you use them as unfailing laws with which to build your building. It is through your understanding of these principles that you can accomplish the project. This may seem in contradiction with an earlier statement. How can it be said that you can move forward through understanding without having all the answers, and also say that it is very important to understand the underlying principles? Here's the answer. In the long run, you do get the answers. Most of the time, You move ahead knowing what you are doing and how to do it. But there are times when you feel you should move ahead, yet you do not have the know-how. You don't understand how to go about it. This brings you to a very important decision. Are you blocked by the lack of understanding, or do you steel yourself to divine understanding? According to appearances, you have moved to a point that is beyond your present understanding. But need you stop? No, you don't stop. Instead, you proceed to silence and stillness, which is the strongest and most powerful position you can take. Steeling yourself to divine understanding reminds you that God is standing under the situation and is but awaiting your request for truth, insight, and revelation. By relying on God to give you the answers step by step, you are developing your awareness of divine understanding and accomplishing the task at the same time. Perhaps you do not know how to accomplish, but divine understanding does. Basically, this is what takes place. As you move forward, declaring divine understanding, the underlying principles come to your mind. When this takes place, you can apply the facts to the principles and miracles take place. You suddenly become aware of the limitless materials that have been at your disposal, overlooked up until now. When you steel yourself, you are placing God first in all affairs. Whenever you ask God to take over, you release your limited point of view. This released limited point of view is replaced with the understanding of some underlying principle, and eventually it moves through your consciousness into your conscious awareness. So whenever you are blocked by not knowing how, let God show you how. Remember, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Seek divine understanding and then ask. Knock, inquire, and proceed according to the principles that are revealed to you. Understanding is knowing with your heart. You can have all the facts, and they may be true, but they are not the truth. Facts can be gathered and evaluated, but the truth can be felt and lived. Sometimes you can understand how to accomplish without all the facts. You have a knowing that tells you that something is possible, a feeling of rightness. This is illustrated by one who picks up a musical instrument and plays it with little or no instruction. He simply knows how to play the instrument. Some people understand animals and can train them with great ease. They seem to have a feeling for them. A person can walk into a house and know that it is meant to be for him. He has a feeling for it and knows that it will be his no matter what obstacles present themselves. The common ingredient in all these cases is love. Understanding moves quickly on love. You can accomplish quickly and easily in a loving situation. Understanding is stifled in the absence of love. A person can completely understand his craft, but if he is under severe criticism and hatred, he can barely perform. He has lost a sense of rightness about the entire thing. The perfect combination, of course, is understanding with the head and understanding with the heart at the same time. You can retain facts and knowledge in the head, but without heart knowing, you won't know that God stands under all that you accomplish. God wants only good for you, and He is the sustaining, loving force that upholds the universe. God's divine plan for you is to have you accept all His good. When you understand this, you understand what is behind all incidents that take place in your worldly experience. All your experiences, whether they appear to be positive or negative, are part of God's plan for your good. This knowingness comes through your feeling nature or your heart. When you accept the fact that everything is working together for good, you understand how to accomplish all fear is removed, confidence is restored, and understanding is established. To understand someone is to love them. No matter how negative a person might be, if you understand them, you love them. You see the Christ in them if you understand them. You grow in understanding when you exercise it in those areas where you don't seem to understand. For instance, you offer understanding to someone you really don't understand. Even though you can't grasp why he is behaving in a certain manner, you affirm that he is a spiritual being and needs your love and understanding. When you do this, you begin to understand his behavior in no time at all. There's only one real thing you have to understand. The truth that stands under all changing facts and circumstances is God. There is only one power and presence in the universe, and it stands under all things. To know this is to have spiritual understanding. The scripture. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Proverbs 4:7. In malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. 1 Corinthians 14:20. Through faith we understand. Hebrews 11. Understanding